Hello and welcome back to Beckler Guitars and Repairs, and today we're just going to jump right into it. Here we go. Yeah. Got a Flying V case ready to go here. Let's quickly say hello to Tito. Good morning, Tito. Here we go. Okay, so here we have a 2017 Flying V in Alpine white. So this is the Flying V T. They added a T to the series in 2016 and 2017, I believe. And yeah, I've always wanted to try a white Flying V. It looks pretty cool. This is the years where they used the Granadillo fretboards due to the problems with rosewood. At that time, it was you needed special permits to ship rosewood internationally, and a lot of the different manufacturers moved to different types of fretboards, ebony and other options. Ebony's pretty expensive though too, so Gibson moved to Granadillo for a couple years there. And I personally really like these fretboards. They're nice. They're kind of in between a maple and a rosewood, so it's kind of a nice in between option. They're nice and smooth, and they have a nice color to them, and they stay hydrated really well. You don't have to put a lot of oil into them. So yeah, this guitar was really clean. I think it has one tiny chip near the nut we can take a look at. However, this guitar has had all the electronics swapped out. So for pickups, we've got the EMG Metallica James Hetfield pickups. And I can't quite remember if they're active or not. We'll have to open up the cavity and see what's going on in there. But it also comes with all the original parts. Here, I just gotta try to. There we are. So yes, here's all the original parts. We've got the original wiring harness, the original Dirty Fingers pickups, and the tuners on this guitar have also been swapped. So we've got some locking hip shot tuners, and yeah, here's the rest of the guitar in really good condition. No scrapes or dings anywhere. And the hip shot tuners are actually quite an upgrade, but what we're going to do today is return this guitar back to original and give it a setup and try it out, because I really want to try the Dirty Fingers pickups in here too. Alright, we're going to do things a little differently today. Before we take any specs, first we're going to restore this back to original using the parts. So I'm going to take off the strings, open the cavity, and we're going to put everything back to how it was. Okay, so here's all of our original stuff. I've got a bag of the original Grover machine heads. Here's our Dirty Fingers pickups that originally came with the guitar. They're dated to March 31st, 2017. The one problem we're going to have here is the previous owner didn't unsolder these cables at the pots. He actually just snipped them. So this is the Gibson braided cabling. So it's got the ground on the inside, followed by the hot is on the inside of the wire, and the outside is the ground, this braided cabling. So we'll have to peel that back, reattach it, and yeah, put that back. It's going to be a little bit harder than just resoldering the pots. Here's our original wiring harness and our original output jack and the original switch. So yeah, here's where you cut them off. So I'm going to have to go ahead and splice those back in. It's not a big deal. It just takes a little bit more time. All right, let's get the strings off and the cavity open. Alright, everything's opened up, so let's have a quick look at what was in here before we start returning it back to original. So these pickups look interesting. These are the EMG JHB for James Hetfield. B is the bridge. And here's the EMG JHN. And yeah, these are active pickups. So there's everything there. So what's cool about the EMG stuff is usually they come in this wiring kit where everything's just like click to connect. So everything's pre-wired. You just put everything together. Super simple. So yeah, that's kind of a neat system. The guy who had this before that I bought this off of, he wasn't a luthier or anything, so pretty much anyone can do this with some basic instruction. It's pretty easy, no soldering involved. Alright, so let's go ahead and take everything apart. I just want to share a little trick I use to get the knobs off. Sometimes they're a little tricky. So I like to take a cloth and just go underneath the edge of the knob, wrap it all the way around like that, and then grab the ends and just lift it off. Just slowly rock it. And yeah, that's probably the easiest way I know of to get the knobs off without wrecking them, because you could pry them up, but sometimes you can cause damage to the knobs and lots of other things can happen. So just a quick little tip there that works pretty well. Issue I've encountered is I'm trying to figure out which one of these pickups of the original Dirty Fingers pickups is the neck and which one's the bridge. They're branded both the same. They don't say neck or bridge. The only difference is one's a 17028 and one is a 17029. Now, I assume the 28 is the bridge or the neck and the 29 is the bridge, but we want to make sure, so I'm going to go ahead and test these and get a reading. So this is what I assume would be the bridge, so I'm just going to see what it reads at here. So okay, this is what I assume is the bridge, and it's reading at a 16. So the neck should be a little less hot. So let's just double check that. Okay, so the neck is reading at a 15.9. So they're very close, but the neck should be a little bit less than the bridge, just so typically that's how it is anyway. Oh, I just want to mention another giveaway is the length of the leads. So they were cut at the same spot on the control harness, the wiring harness. So this one is just a little bit longer than this one. So that just makes sense because the neck pickup is a little bit further away than the bridge from the wiring harness. So that's another way to tell. Okay, so here's my Harding wireless, the original one, mounted back onto the scratch plate. Everything's tightened and where it should be. So I can tell just by looking at the old wiring that this one is going to be my neck pickup and this one's going to be my bridge. Yep. And then I can also tell by these wires, the longer one is my bridge and the shorter one is my neck. So what I've also done is on the end of these, let me just get a little closer here so I can show you. So at the end of my wires, I've pulled back the shielding part, which is the outside, which is the ground. And then I've pulled out the cloth wire on the inside and just made sure that I've got some exposed lead wire showing. And then I've just put a little bit of shrink wrap around here. So once I resolder these together, I can shrink wrap over top and then put the shielding over top. Because if this lead touches any of the shielding wire, we're going to have problems. That's going to be shorting out and it's not going to work. I tin all of the wires just to get them ready for soldering. So it's a quick process. And just quickly put a little bit of solder in each wire. Okay, now the long one is my bridge, so I see the bridge pickup is going to go here, so that's going to be this wire. So I'm going to go ahead and solder that. The other wire is my neck, so I'm going to solder that one together. Bend it and get a nice straight solder there. Okay, so that's done. And I'm also going to quickly solder the ground wire while we're here. So it looks like it just came right from there. I'm just going to solder it back into place. Then that's all in place. I'm going to go ahead and move my shrink wrap over top of the soldered part that I just did. Make sure it's in there nice and tight. And now I'm going to turn on my heat gun and just hit those two parts with the shrink wrap, just so it tightens everything up. And then we can solder the grounds back onto each other. Okay, so it can be a little bit hard to pull this shielding wire back over everything. So what I like to do is just loop it around and just push them together. So that way you have the wire loop here, and then the two shielding points are going to be soldered together just below that. So it achieves the same thing, but just a little less hassle with trying to wrap that wired portion over the worked on section again. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that very quickly. So we'll put a little solder point there. And then here. Make sure that's good. And then just solder those together. Just like so. So yeah, there's our solder points together. Everything is soldered back together and put together. I've got everything into the cavity here. So before we go too far, I just want to plug in and make sure everything's working as it should. And I can test that with just a screwdriver on the pickups. So I'm just plugged into a little portable amp here so we can see, make sure all the volumes are up. So we're on the back pickup here. So we know the back pickup is working. We know the back pickup volume is working. And we know the tone is working, and that's the back position. Moving to the neck, the pickup's a little scratchy, but we can just use some contact cleaner on that pot quickly and fix it. So there's the volume working and the tone. So yeah, everything works. We're going to go ahead and put the screws back in after I clean that one pot, and we'll put it back together. Alright, the next step is just to take off the hip shot locking tuners and put on the original Grovers. These are a definite upgrade, but I want to restore this thing back to original. So as far as I can tell, there's no other screws on the bottom, so these are just pressure fitted on with the nut on the top. So let's just see if that is the case. Yeah, so that looks like that's all that is. And they're attached to a little bar here so that they can just be put together. So yeah, simple. I'm just gonna take these all off. Okay, so we've got everything back together. So now that it's restored to 100% original, let's have a look at the parts and specs. Okay, our weight is nice and light at 7 pounds, 5.4 ounces. Neck profile, it's considered a Flying V slim taper in the specs. It's more of like a flat C or even more like a D profile. So it's pretty flat. You know, at the beginning, at the first fret and at the 12th fret, so kind of a D profile. And the neck feels not too chunky, kind of in between a 50s and a 60s. I would say more like a 60s. And our width at the nut is 1.698, and at the 12th, that beefs up to 2.08. First fret neck depth is 0.8115, and at the 12th, 0.868. All right, our pickups readings are, at the bridge we got a 15.61, and at the neck we have a 15.50, and at the middle we have 7.77. Okay, just gonna go over the condition of the truss rod, the neck, and just go over the guitar a bit. So here is our truss rod. Lots of real estate left there. Definitely no screw showing. Appears to have barely been touched. There's our Tectoid nut. From what I can tell so far, it's cut pretty nicely. And there's a look at the fretboard. Again, nice grain on the Granadillo. And our frets are in really nice condition. And what I see on the Granadillo fretboards a lot of the time are these little white marks. I think it's from the buffing compound filling the pores of the wood from the factory. So I'm going to clean that up and see if that goes away with a little oil. But pretty standard. And yeah, really good condition. No scuffs or dings anywhere. I think there is a little bit of checking in a few spots. It's kind of hard to see where I'm at right now. I'll turn the light and see. Yeah, so there's one little finish check right here. See if I can get that to focus. It can be hard to see, but it is there if you catch it in the light right. And anywhere else? Nowhere else on the top that I can see. I'm gonna go ahead and flip it over. Okay. And let me just check in the light quickly. Yeah, no checking on the back. Just in nice condition. A few like finished scuffs and handling marks you can kind of see when you look into the light, but overall quite clean. So Alpine finishes, they tend to yellow, and that can be due to sunlight or the finish reacts with something. So we've got a little bit of yellowing on the neck here. I'm not sure what that's from. Maybe it reacted with a stand, or I'm not sure. But it only seems to be in that one spot. And a tiny bit of yellowing on the headstock, just near the machine heads. And our serial number is there, although it's very hard to see. I did angle it up to the light and have a look. So it's 1700299951. And that tells us it's 2017. It was during the years when they did the serial number. The first 2 digits represents the year. And then, yeah, nothing on the sides anywhere in terms of chips or dings. Usually you see a few dings on the horn because those are the parts that stick out. But these are nice and clean. And then the only other issue I noticed was at the nut. So this side's actually nice and clean, but the other side has a little bit of see if we can focus there. Yeah, so that side has a little tiny bit of a finished chip right there where it meets the body. Other than that, this thing's in really nice shape. The frets have no wear, no pitting, and yeah, they look like new. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and restring this thing and we can check the setup. Okay, here we are. Strings all been replaced and set up. So yeah, this really didn't require much of a setup, just a very slight truss adjustment. Just because we're going from 10s that were on here to 9s now, and a little bit of a saddle adjustment or for the intonation, and that's about it. So let's go over the action right now. So you can see right here that there's very little relief in the neck. It's just a very tiny bit of space in between the notch straight edge and the fretboard. So we can see when I fret the 3rd fret, the string is just nicely resting against that 1st fret. And that's the same all the way from the low E to the high E. So that means this nut is cut correctly and the action is set nice and low with the The low E, we're looking at about 1.5, and at the high E, about 1 to 1.5. So that's just where I like it, nice low action. And there's no fretting out anywhere on the fretboard, and I'll show that now. Alright, so yeah, nice low action with no fretting or choking out anywhere. And yeah, the fret ends are nice and smooth. This particular Gibson doesn't have bindings. Flying V's rarely have binding. And well, in this case, the fret ends are really nice and smooth and no issues there at all. Okay, this thing is back to stock original. It's set up and tuned up and ready to go, so let's plug it in and see how it sounds. Alright, so I've got a new miking setup now. So I'm using these 2 little wireless mics, and they're actually 2 channels. So I have one connected to an SM57 that is miking the amplifier, and then one of them is this lapel mic here. So Let me know how it sounds in the comments. Is it better? Is it worse? Yeah, this is my first time using it, so let me know how it sounds. But I think this will make it a lot easier to get consistent sounds out of the amplifier, as well as be able to talk at the same time that I'm playing. Okay, so we're plugged into the Deluxe Reverb 65 reissue. I'm using the Bugera PS1 Power Soak attenuator. I have the amp set at about 5.5. Bass is set at 4.5. Reverb is set at 2. Tremolo set at 4.5 as well, or the treble. And yeah, we're just gonna play some clean and see how these dirty fingers sound. I'm just gonna do some finger picking. That's the bridge. Gonna move on to the neck. This is the middle position. Back to the bridge. I'm going to move to a pick and just try some strumming. Strum. I only have the amp on like 4 because I had to turn it down a little bit, but these pickups are so hot that they really push the amp, so you have to have your amp set pretty low to get just a basic clean sound. So I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of overdrive on. All I'm going to do is crank up the amp a little bit. We'll get the natural overdrive from the amp and see how that sounds. Okay, so we're turned up to about 6.5, 7. We'll start on the bridge. And the neck. Position. All right, back to the bridge. middle. So yeah, it sounds pretty good with the distortion on there. Now I'm just gonna go ahead and crank the distortion and play some heavier stuff. Okay, so now that we've taken this thing apart, put it back to original, set it up, and tried it out, what do I think of the 2017 Flying V T? Yeah, it's a great guitar. This is the second V I've done on this channel, and I think I like this one a little bit more than the last one. The other one was still a great guitar, but this one just, I can get it really nice and low, and it's very playable. The other one, I had the action set a little bit higher. I think I actually like the pickups on that last one a little bit more than the Dirty Fingers. Yeah, they're still both really nice guitars. This one's in great shape. There's no scratches or dings anywhere. There's some slight yellowing on parts of the finish and a few finish checking spots. I've noticed a few more here up on the headstock. I don't know if you'll be able to see that, but there's a few spots where there's just a few little checking marks. I really like the Granadillo fretboard. It's a little different. It's kind of red, more of a light red, brownish kind of a color. It looks good. I wasn't able to get those buffing compounds out of the pores there, but that's fine. Yeah, plays really well. Action's nice and low, no buzzing anywhere. The Dirty Fingers pickups sounded nice. They're kind of a high output ceramic pickup. So this is really good for like metal kind of music, that kind of stuff. Not really what I play typically. I prefer, I think the Alnico magnet pickups. But yeah, they sound really good for what they are. Not necessarily my favorite, but I can appreciate them nonetheless because they do sound good. Just not exactly what I would use for my playing style. But yeah, it comes with the original case, as well as the velvet bag full of your manual and baby picture. And the case is in great shape too. And yeah, overall, just really nice guitar. If you're interested in this, there's going to be a link to the Reverb page in the description. And other than that, thanks very much for watching, and I hope you have a great day. See you later. Alright, I knew people were going to ask how the head-filled pickups sound. So here they are, and I'm going to record some audio just so everybody can hear how they sound before I swap. But we'll hear how it sounds clean just a little bit, and then with a little bit more dirt.